Some people are really fucking stupid. Did you ever notice that? How many really stupid people you run into during the day? God damn, there's a lot of stupid bastards walking around. Carry a little pad and pencil with you. You wind up with 30 or 40 names by the end of the day. Look at it this way. Think of how stupid the average person is, and then realize half of them are stupider than that.
Hey all, welcome to episode 2. As you can see, we started off with a little bit of a comedy from one of the greatest comedians of all time, George Carlin. The reason why that clip was chosen, it wasn't to emphasize on the stupidity of the average person. It was more or less to emphasize the misinformed or uninformed voter. And it's tragic that the average American voter is very uninformed. Really, it's actually really disheartening, to be honest with you. I mean, you figure the average voter, the majority of their information they do get from their local news or some of the major cable news networks. And every single one of them, of course, offer a bias, regardless of which way that bias swings. Me personally, It pains me to see how uneducated the American voter is when it comes to their local politicians, their policies, and what they actually stand for. For some policies, like just for instance on the ballot, you'll see we'll say it's a proposal for election funds, and that particular election funds, it says this proposal such and such must disclose, net amount of funds guaranteed from like a super PAC or something, and they have to disclose it, and it has to be done on their website. Something like that, is a great proposal because we're seeing where their party where their campaign is being funded from, who's doing it, how it's being funded, what organizations, are the organizations activists, are they corporations, or are they just simple mom and pop, $5 and $10, donations. Okay. And then you have your other policies or your other proposals that come across on the ballots that are so vague in nature. They compress them down into such, minute statements that the headers of the ballot give you a, wow, this is a great proposal, or this is a great new law. What's it going to do? Is it going to be codified? Is it going to, affect, my everyday life? And just based on the simplification of it, it gets so underworded and so far out of context that it seems, well, in my opinion, of course, that it seems that the politicians essentially count on that. They count on the American voter not to actually research what they propose or on them or where their funds come from. And that bothers me. It really bothers me because if you dig into a lot of these laws that they put on your ballots or amendments for your constitutions, your state constitutions, if you actually were to pull these proposals up or these new laws up and actually read some of these, and once you get through all the word salad and everything, you can actually discern if, is this proposal or is this law really going to be good for me? And in most cases, other than not, it's really the politician or the party that is structuring or representing the particular bill or law or proposal is taking advantage of the citizenry or the district. And it's very troublesome. And not only that, it's the oversimplification that gets pushed by the media also. Here I go. Yes, I'm hacking on the media. Everyone knows I can't stand the mainstream media. I can't stand them because, honestly, because the majority of the stuff that come out of their mouth, it's lies. It really is. So, but anyway, in my own research, excuse me, I was actually able to find something to almost back up my feeling about this situation. And hopefully, some of you actually feel the same way. As you can see, I have an article pulled up here on screen. It's from Science Direct. The way that this will read, it's going to skew towards the my mindset or personal bias, being right of center. But it amazes me that there's a lot of truth in just this abstract of the beginning of this article. I'm going to have, just so everyone knows, I am going to have the links to everything that I'm using today, of course, in the description. So if you come with me, let's read this and don't get too upset. All right, kids, I switched sides of the screen so we could see the article clearly. So please, let's read from Science Direct. Americans failed to meet the democratic ideal of an informed electorate, and the consequences of this political ignorance are a topic of significant scholarly debate. In 2 independent settings, we experimentally test the effects of political information on its citizens' attitudes towards the major parties in the U.S. When uninformed citizens receive political information, they systematically shift their political preferences away from the Republican Party and towards the Democrats. A lack of knowledge on the policy positions of the parties significantly hinders the ability of low socioeconomic status citizens to translate their preferences into partisan opinion and vote choices. As a result, American public opinion and potentially election results and public policy as a result is a significantly different from the counterfactual world in which all voters are informed. So, based on that, what this study is saying is that the uninformed voter tends to be on the left or tends to vote Democrat. Why is that? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there are definitely Republican voters that simply vote just for the simple fact that there's an R next to the name. Same thing with the Democrats. You're going to have your base no matter what. But when it comes to the elections, both parties always try to go after that, that middle third. And it just seems, based on my experience, I will say in the last 20-something years, paying attention to our political environment, it seems that the truth skews towards the right. And more or less feelings tend to skew towards the left rather than facts. Like, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use the person of who shall not be named with the orange skin. Everyone's favorite. I'm sure someone just by just the visualization of it are being triggered as we speak. But for not to say that he was a good person or he was always right, he was a pig, flat out. The man was a pig. But the media consistently lied about him for, going on 6 years now. A lot of the misinformation that was pumped by the media, okay, that's what the average American voter sees. They don't go into the the actual raw footage of a White House press conference or a briefing that he gives or any president gives. Like when you even look at stuff that our current president today, when he gives his, little speeches, and in most cases, in a lot of cases, he'll answer like 1 or 2 questions and he'll get out of there. As much as not a big fan of his, and admittedly, definitely didn't vote for the man. The handlers are playing it smart. They know what they're doing. They're keeping him away, basically keeping him away from the cameras so he doesn't make mistakes and doesn't give the right, basically fodder for throwing it up. But there's still plenty to go around. But yes, it's just unfortunate that from seeing what I've seen the last 20 something years, that it's okay. The best way to put this is majority of most of you that are here now know that I host karaoke. Okay. And you're constantly, well, at least I am, I'm constantly on the ball looking for new music. All right. And you come across a song, you just know, this song is going to be a popular song. So one day, you decide, yeah, I'm going to play this thing. I'm going to play it. I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens. And it's good. So you play it one night and everyone's looking at you like, what the heck is this? This is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life, But you know for a fact that you keep putting this song out there, or you keep playing this song over and over again. Eventually, that it's going to catch on, and people are just they're going to love it, and they're going to request it on a nightly basis. And it was one of those things I discovered years ago, actually doing this, was as soon as that song hit the mainstream, as soon as that song hit the radio and it started getting that airplay, and you're getting a rotation every 10 songs, people get used to it. They hear it and they accept it. And that's what it's like with the uninformed voter. So the more things get repeated, the more commonplace they become. Like, for instance, in your typical political advertisement that we see on TV, you'll hear about this particular politician supports this, and this happened to them. They did this when they weren't in office. They're a bad person, or they get their campaign funds from this particular organization or group. And once that keeps getting repeated over and over again, regardless of the party, okay, the average voter, that's what they see. The majority of Americans base, in my opinion, their choices either as a default. Well, my mom and dad used to vote, for a Republican or a Democrat, or they default their choices based on the really, really bad political ads they see on TV or what their favorite news channel tells them. And rather than actually, researching the actual candidates and seeing what the individuals really stand for, they just default back into this. And like I said, in my experience, based on what I've seen, it tends to me that the majority of the uninformed tend to lean left. And I'm sorry, that's, it's just what it is. And based on even on this study, that's basically what this shows as well. I'm not trying to poo-poo on anyone's, educated voting choices. So if you're a Democrat and lean left, or a Republican and, and you're on the right, I'm sure, as a staunch Democrat or a Republican, you'll wholeheartedly believe in all the policies and in your candidates. But that's my problem is with those that are in the middle that refuse to do the homework. And it scares me. And the reason why it scares me so much is I'm sure everyone remembers like when Jay Leno would do like the jaywalking, or when you go on to some of these late night shows where they go on the street and they ask basic civics questions, basic geography questions, basic math questions. And these are, I'm sure, handpicked. They edit everything, but it should bother you that those people that are answering these questions, these are adults. They have the ability to vote. That should scare the bejesus out of you. It really should. And we got to ask ourselves, are these individuals that are uninformed just voting because they can, and my parents voted this way, or my girlfriend or boyfriend told me to vote this way? That's the one power that we all have that really actually does matter. And it pains me because, like I said in the previous segment, that if just even half of those, uninformed voters did actual research, they wouldn't vote the way they vote. This would be a much different country. The politicians we have in power today wouldn't be there. At least not most of them. I implore you, I beg you all, please do your homework on your local politicians, on anyone that you think of supporting that's running for office. Do the homework. Stop voting for a person that's just on the ballot because you saw a sign coming down the street. Oh, wow, yeah, I saw that sign. That looks like a cool sign. I'm going to vote for that. I saw this ad on TV that said this politician gets his money from this activist group. I'm going to vote against them. Not for them, but you're voting against somebody. Never vote against anybody. So hopefully, some of you will actually do your research. Yeah. Get your head out of the ground. Stop watching, really bad political ads. Do the homework. Really find out who is representing you. You might find out that there's nothing that individual or that person trying to represent you, or that candidate, really cares about you. Do you think Nancy Pelosi really cared about you? Do you think Schumer really cared about you? Or cares? McCarthy? None of them do. None of them do. They're in their team. They're playing for themselves. And they're trying to squeeze every dime out of all of us until they get out of there. That's why they fear an informed population, because they know if we knew what was going on, the voter knew what they were doing to us, they wouldn't be in power. They wouldn't be in office. Do your homework, kids. See you later.